Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Natoya and I'm here to help you start traveling the world. So in this video guys, we are going to get into super specific details like straight numbers, facts on how much it costs to visit Paris. So by the end of this video, I want you to get a cold hard number and how much money you need for your dream trip to Paris. So we're going to be covering 5 areas: food, accommodations, activities, things you need to pack, and getting around Paris. So we're not going to cover getting a flight to Paris because you guys coming from all over the world to Paris and all over the United States. So that will be kind of difficult for me to give you a number. But guess what? I did create a video on how to get cheap flights from anywhere and to anywhere in the world. I'll link it above and below. So whether you're staying in Paris for 10 days, 3 days, 1 day, 30 days, whatever, this video is going to be super helpful for you. But before we begin, this video is a part of my How to Travel in Paris on a Budget series. Actually, I didn't get a right title yet, but essentially traveling to Paris on a budget, how to do it, like step-by-step guides. I'll link that playlist in the description. And also make sure you download in the description a workbook that I created just for you guys. So guys, here's the disclaimer. Everything I'm talking about right now, all the numbers that I'm talking about right now that I'm giving you is based for budget travelers. I'm not a luxury traveler. I'm also not like a backpacker traveler. So I'm kind of right in the middle. I do everything on a budget, like regular restaurants for your average person, average hotels, just very average, okay? Not 5-star, not overpriced, not expensive, but at the same time, not super cheap. Eating at McDonald's or eating street food all day, it's just right in the middle. So I just want to let you know that. The next thing that I want to let you know is that prices vary from neighborhoods. So everything that I'm about to talk about, they will vary from neighborhood to neighborhood. The cost of a hotel, the cost of a croissant, the cost of a cup of coffee will not be the same in a neighborhood near the Eiffel Tower compared to a neighborhood like 30 minutes from the Eiffel Tower. It's just the prices will be different. So my prices are based on my experience staying in the neighborhood of Montmartre. That's usually where I always stay in Paris. So let's start right from the beginning. You've just gotten off your flight and you need to get from the airport to your accommodations. How much does that cost? So you have 2 options of airports. I wouldn't dare try to even pronounce it. I'm never pronouncing it right, so I won't even try. But you have 2 options from airports. CDG is probably the one you're coming from. That's a international airport. So from that airport into the Paris city center, you're gonna pay around 50 to 60 euros. And because of COVID, Paris is not doing the whole, well, actually nowhere in the world actually is doing the whole ride share with the Uber app. And if you have a party of more than 4 people, more than 3 people, just know that the Ubers in Paris, it's a max of 3 people per car. You cannot sit in the front car. You cannot sit in the front seat with the driver. So your second option is, of course, to take the train from the airport into the city center. So most likely you'll have to take 2 trains. You'll have to take a train from the airport into the city center of Paris, and then you'll take the metro to wherever you're going in Paris. So that'll cost you about 10.30 or 10.50 euros. I can't remember exactly. I'll link it in the description. You'll just need 1 ticket, but you'll be taking 2 trains, like I said, and you'll just need 1 ticket for both of those trains. I do recommend you just taking the train and skipping the Uber. The only reason I took the Uber from the airport to my Airbnb was because we arrived, I think it was like 1 a.m. in the morning, and then I was traveling with 2 kids, so, we had to take an Uber. All right, next, let's talk about getting around Paris. How much is that gonna cost you to travel around Paris, do your activities, go out to eat, all that jazz? So luckily, Paris is such a walkable city. There's so many self-guided walking tours that you can take in Paris, just all by yourself and absolutely free. They're all over the internet. I'll actually link one in the description below. And that's one of the things I love about Paris, and I highly recommend it. Take advantage of it being a large city, and there's just so many things you can do and easily walk there. As well as the free walking tours, take advantage of that too. So to take the metro, if you're staying inside the ring of Paris, you'll have to pay 190 euros, one way to get from anywhere inside of Paris. When you leave Paris, you're using a whole different train system. I guess they would call it the rail system, and that is a different price. So just be sure of that. So say for example, you're going to Paris Disney, you're going to the Palace of Versailles. That's a different train you have to take to get to those places. And the airport, that's a different train you have to get to those places. So generally speaking, if you're traveling inside Paris, you pay $190 one way. And if you buy a booklet of tickets, I believe it's about 13 tickets, you get it at a cheaper rate per ticket. The next way to get around in Paris is Ubers. And I find that the Ubers to be similar prices as New York City. I think they're pretty cheap actually. So I like never take Ubers in Paris. But in this last trip, like I said, I was with kids. We decided to take Ubers more than we normally do. For about a 10 or 15 minute ride, I think it was about a 10-minute ride, we paid $11 for that ride. And it was so cool because we were in a Tesla. Crazy, right? So if you're planning on taking Ubers in Paris, just expect similar prices to the prices you would pay in the US or any large city in the US. All right, the next thing that you have to budget for is accommodation. So I'm just gonna jump right out and say it. Your best option for accommodation is Airbnb, apartment rentals. So I talk about this so much on my channel. I even created a how-to tutorial on picking your first Airbnb. I'll link it above and below. But I highly recommend Airbnbs, especially in Paris, because I find that the Paris Airbnbs, I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't have any reason behind it. This is just my thought. I feel like the Paris Airbnbs are a lot better than many of the Airbnbs around the world because they tend to be Airbnbs from the actual host and not just like an apartment from some mega company. It's actually someone lives in the apartment. I hope you understand what I mean. And it tends to be a better value for my money. And usually you get to meet the person that's living there, and that person will give you some recommendations for the neighborhood, tips, all that jazz. I just find that Airbnbs in Paris are a lot better because there's actually someone living there. So I just made a video on finding accommodations in Paris. I'll link it above and below, so I won't get into it too much. So of course, it totally depends on your budget. You can find an Airbnb in Paris for an entire apartment for $40 a night, $50 a night, $60 a night, $70 a night, $100 a night, $300 a night. You can totally do that. But I have to say, a decent Airbnb in Paris is about $75 a night. Probably get away with $65 a night, but a decent one is $75 a night. And again, that's in the rings of Paris. So you can consider staying outside the rings of Paris. I have stayed in St. Ouen before, which is literally like a 5-10 minute walk into Paris. And it was fine. It was way cheaper and it was fine. And it wasn't a problem for me because I was near my favorite neighborhood in Paris. I could easily walk there. And that's particularly why I picked the Airbnb in St. Ouen, because it was right outside and way less than staying in that neighborhood. So I was able to save money and still have access to my favorite neighborhood in Paris. So just consider that. You can stay outside the rings of Paris. Just make sure you're able to go easily and on a budget, go to where you want to go inside Paris. So I will link some of the places I stayed in Paris. I'm about to talk about the hotel I stayed in Paris as well. I'll link that too in the description, so check that out if you're interested. So the next best option and what you can budget for in Paris is a hotel. I was pleasantly surprised at the hotel we were able to book in Paris. I always assumed that hotels were so much money. And I have to say, if you want to book a hotel in Paris, just do your research. You can find a pretty decent hotel in Paris. So when we first arrived in Paris, we needed to stay in a hotel for 2 nights, and we ended up paying 67 euros per night per room, and we booked 2 rooms. I was finding the hotels to be 65 to about 80 euros per night for a 1-bed room. So if you're deciding to stay at a hotel in Paris, just budget for 65. That's a real cheap hotel. Let's not even say that. Let's budget for about $75 to $80 per night for your hotel. And that hotel did give free breakfast, which is pretty cool. So I feel like I got a lot of value for that money. It was 67 euros. and we got free breakfast. You can use the website hotelscombined.com to find cheap hotels. I'll link that in the description. This this eating in Paris part, I'm not talking about like 5-star restaurants, but I'm also not talking about like super cheap restaurants like McDonald's. We are like right in the middle, closer to like the 5-star restaurants, but not really. I'm talking about like 3-4 3-star restaurants, okay? Your average restaurants, that's what I'm trying to say. The average person, the average traveler is going to these restaurants. So I did make a video going in depth about eating in Paris on a budget. I'll link it above and below. But let's quickly talk about how much it's going to cost you to eat in Paris. So we're going to go through the 3 main meals a day and some other topics too. So for breakfast, for a baguette, expect to pay between, for a long baguette, a long bread, expect to pay between 1 to 2 euros for that. For a croissant, I expect to pay between 1 to 2 euros as well. In the neighborhood I was staying at, I paid €1 for a baguette and €1 for a croissant, and they were so delicious. But all neighborhoods in Paris, not created equally. For a cup of coffee or espresso, expect to pay between 2 to 3 euros. So that's breakfast. Now let's talk about lunch. My favorite meal of the day in Paris, and it should probably be your largest meal of the day. For lunch, I highly recommend you looking into getting the plat de jour or the plate of the day. The plate of the day is pretty much what's being served for the day, what's on the menu, the special for the day. So you can get by itself the plate of the day, the entree, or if you're really hungry, you can get a starter, an entree, and a dessert for between 17 to 25 euros. You can get all three of that for 17 to 25 euros. Again, it depends on the neighborhood, the restaurant, but that's what it called. Generally speaking, 17 to 25 euros, probably 20 euros for all three of those. And the entree by itself would be about 15 to like 17 euros. I highly recommend that being the biggest meal of the day because you'll save a lot of money. Dinner tends to be more expensive because you're not getting the deal of the day. So if you're on a tight budget, just go to the restaurant and ask for the plat de jour. Next, you can get a decent glass of wine from 5 to 7 euros to go with your meal. And if you need some water, some still water, like a fancy bottle of water, just get tap. Like honestly, just ask for tap water because that water can be expensive. I'm talking like 5 euros for a bottle of water. Like I don't even know why. And for dinner, expect to pay like similar prices to large cities. Expect to pay $15 to like $30 for dinner. Like a hamburger, a cheeseburger, I find to be like the cheapest thing on the menu. It's like 15 euros. And if you're getting something like filet mignon or something, that tends to be on the higher end. That might be 25 to 30 euros. And I forgot to mention that on the plat de jour, it's French food, but you can also get like hamburgers, you can also get pasta. So there's usually lots to choose from on the plat de jour menu, not just like one meal. And you don't always have to rely on the plat de jour menu. Many restaurants, of course, they'll have a special. For example, we went to this restaurant on a Saturday afternoon. It's called Sunset, and we got a 5-course meal for $25. It was a starter. It was 2 starters, and it was smaller portions. I'll insert some pictures. It was 2 starters and then 2 entrees with it was fish and beef or pork, I can't remember. And then we had a dessert at the end, and that was just 25 euros. So delicious. So you don't always have to rely on the plat de jour. You still can get some pretty affordable meals for dinner. And also Paris does have happy hours. You can also go for happy hour on the weekdays. Me and my sister went to happy hour one day, and it was like a little bit after 2, between 2 and 6. I think that's when the happy hour is for most places that I found. Just to give you a rough budget of how much that costs. Again, we were in Montmartre. We had 2 pizzas, and we probably had like 4 or 5 drinks each. And that came up to about 85 euros. I don't think that's so bad. That's like 43 euros each. I don't think that's that bad. We had wine. We had like 2 or 3 glasses of wine. Yeah, we were having a good time. We had some kind of fancy drink. So don't worry, you can also go enjoy happy hour in Paris. The next thing we're going to talk about is things to do in Paris. Like I said before, my favorite thing to do in Paris is just like hang out. Like, I don't really do much when I go to Paris. I'm just gonna be unapologetic about it. That's my favorite thing to do in Paris, go out to eat. But there still are lots of things to do in Paris that you would have to pay for. But I would say budget between 15 to 25 euros for all paid activities in Paris. That's generally how much it costs to do those activities in Paris, to go to the museums, to gain access into different places. Just budget 15 to 25 euros. But I have to say, I highly recommend you doing a lot of free things in Paris. A lot of the tourist sites are overrated. I'm just gonna say it. You don't have to do everything that's popular in Paris. A lot of the different sites you can enjoy right from the outside. I'm just gonna be honest. I've never went up to the top of the Eiffel Tower. I can enjoy it right from the ground. I've never taken a boat tour in the Seine River. You could just walk along the Seine River and enjoy the river there. So yeah, my point is you don't have to spend a lot of money in Paris. There's lots of free things you can do, and I'll link a list of free things you can do in Paris in the description. Next, let's talk about things you need for Paris. Luckily, you don't have to pack a lot of things for Paris. The one thing you need to pack for Paris is an adapter or a voltage converter. So you definitely need an adapter to be able to plug in your electronic devices, because it just doesn't use the same plug thingy, just doesn't use it. So you need to put an adapter on top of it so you can plug it into the wall. If you're using certain electronic devices that does not have a voltage converter like built into it, you will have to buy a voltage converter. And don't worry, most of your electronic devices that you use every day, like your laptop charger, your cell phone charger, your AirPod charger, those have a voltage converter built in. But things like your curling iron, your flat iron, your electronic toothbrush, that probably does not have a voltage converter built into it, and you will have to buy one. I will link the adapters that I bought for Paris and the voltage converter that I bought as well. Just expect to pay between, I think it's $7 for about 7 or 10 adapters, which is perfect. And for the voltage converter, expect to pay between $25 to $40. I paid $35 for mine. I'll link it in the description below. And also check out my video on the 18 things you need to travel with. I'll link it above and below. But at the very bare minimum, you need your adapters. The next thing you need is travel insurance, of course. I always recommend traveling with travel insurance. It'll help you sleep at night. You can use insuremytrip.com. It's a search engine for travel insurance to find the best travel insurance for you. But I highly recommend you just go with World Nomad Travel Insurance. I've been using them for years. They're pretty affordable and they cover everything. They're pretty transparent, and they also have really good reviews about their customer service. So I'll link them below. And finally, the last thing you need to budget for is your COVID test back to America. So you will not get back into America if you do not provide a negative COVID test, even if you're an American citizen and even if you're vaccinated. I'm filming this video on September 2021, so maybe it has changed, but as of now, September 2021, you cannot get back into America unless you have a negative COVID test. So the cost of the COVID test was 42 euros, and we got the results back the same day. So make sure you find a good lab to get back your results quickly, because I have heard of people missing their flights because they got their COVID test through a really sucky lab. So guys, make sure you download that workbook in the description so you can take all of the information that I gave you, write it in the workbook, and come up with a daily cost of traveling Paris. Now you have a savings goal. Now you know how much you need for your dream trip to Paris. I really hope this video helped you. Be sure to comment in the description if you have any questions on how much something costs in Paris. Be sure to like this video, hit the subscription button and the bell notification so you can be notified when I make a new video. Bye!